I feel like an apology is in order. Welcome back to 10 Years Later, the series where I talk about albums from the 2010s that were either impactful to me, impactful to music in general, very popular, or just worth revisiting 10 years later for good or bad reasons. And here's one I've been wanting to get to for a very long time. You guys know that I love this artist, he's one of my favorite musicians ever, and I feel like I have a lot to say here. As you can tell from the title, the record that we'll be talking about today is the 2011 Weeknd mixtape House of Balloons. Yes, this was the massively influential debut mixtape from the legend himself, one of my favorite artists ever, Abel Tesfaye, aka The Weeknd. These days, we know The Weeknd for being one of the biggest, most popular titans in modern pop and R&B. And lately, success is coming at him left and right. Last year, he released an incredible body of work in After Hours, broke numerous records on the Billboard charts, and is fresh off of a fantastic performance at last month's Super Bowl. But while Abel has been reaping the many benefits of his incredibly hard work now, back in 2011, he was still an early 20-something trying to make his mark on the music world. And when this mixtape was released, there was a fascinating air to The Weeknd. Even now, Abel is a pretty shy person that's none too fond of the spotlight, but back in the early 2010s, he was mostly anonymous. He uploaded several tracks onto YouTube without revealing his identity, which added a huge amount of mystique to his character. Who was The Weeknd? Are they a band? A solo act? A lot of questions built up around the music and hype built around his name. One prominent co-sign from Drake later, Abel self-released this project, and not only would it garner critical acclaim, but it would radically shake up the entire genre of R&B. Now, as I mentioned, I'm a huge Weeknd fan, but I'll get it out of the way right now. Yes, I did miss out on the trilogy era, and I didn't become a fan of his until Beauty Behind the Madness. I know, I'm sorry, I am one of those people. However, my love of his modern music led me to seek out his older stuff. Back in 2017, I even reviewed this project on my blog, though being that it was my 6th review ever, it's horrifically undercooked. At the time, my critiques were very simplistic, and I feel like I had no idea how to be detailed about anything. And not only that, but with this mixtape, I actually gave it an okay rating. Yes, even though I love The Weeknd, I just couldn't get into this project. I appreciated its appeal and impact, but it just didn't hook me for some reason. Still, even at the time, the highs from this mixtape became some of my favorite songs from Abel, and I even admitted on my blog in 2018 that the project grew on me. Thus, I was pretty excited to give it another chance for this series. The original release of the mixtape was 9 tracks in 49 minutes, a bit long because The Weeknd's old tracks used to be very long, though the trilogy edition turns that into 10 tracks in 53 minutes. For those wondering, by the way, Abel re-released the original version of this mixtape on Spotify recently, as it contained the original mixes before they were changed for the trilogy re-release. For this video, I did listen to both versions, and while they had some minor sound changes, I didn't notice too big a difference when listening to the two. The major changes between the original and trilogy versions come from the samples, as What You Need features a sample from Rock the Boat by Aaliyah, and Coming Down features a dialogue sample from the anime Fate/Stay Night. Regardless, when re-listening to the mixtape for this video, I was kind of appalled that I ever thought this thing was just okay. It is definitely an incredible record. Even when I wasn't all that crazy about the project, there were a few tracks that I absolutely adored off of it. The iconic House of Balloons/Glass Table Girls is a stunning 2-part song that has gotten way too many replays out of me. The first part of the song has this really fun, bouncy feel to it that's perfectly realized, and then when we get into Glass Table Girls, we see Abel showing us some surprising rap flows. He spits bars in this very sinister way over this very dark, rather evil twist in the instrumental. The song as a whole has this crazy dark vibe to it, but it's absolutely intoxicating and hard to ignore. I'm very happy Abel continues to perform the song, and I also got goosebumps seeing him factor it into his excellent Super Bowl performance. Speaking of 2-part tracks, I'd honestly go as far as to say that The Party and the After Party is one of my favorite songs ever from The Weeknd. I love how hazy it feels across both of its parts, and Abel's vocals are smooth and beautiful. The first part has this air about it where Abel's gonna give this girl the love that she deserves, but during the second part, the After Party, his true colors come out as we see the effects of the destructive lifestyle of his lyrics. It's put together beautifully, and I love the integration of Beach House's Master of None on the chorus. This is definitely definitely one of my favorites from the Weeknd, and it's still stunning to this day. While those were the two tracks that were getting the most spins from me, they weren't the only ones that I enjoyed back when I first reviewed this thing. Coming Down was one that had a very delicate feel to it, with Abel flowing lightly over the spacey instrumental as he sings about how his feelings for a lover return when he's coming down off of a drug high. It's a bit more mellow than some of the other tracks here, but the soundscape of it is so contagious and the hazy vibe of it is perfect. And I also really love the trilogy bonus track 28, which is built off of some light pianos and haunting vocal samples. The dark sound of it is stunning. Abel does an amazing job with his vocals, mixing between hazy lower register sounds and higher register runs. Like many of the best tracks on the mixtape, the song creates a very creepy feel but does an excellent job with it, and it's a stunner. As far as the rest of the tape, I see just how much I wasn't appreciating this thing back in 2017 when I first reviewed it. It helps that I really wasn't good at actually critiquing music at the time, as all of my thoughts were, I like how this sounds, but I'm not sure if I like how this sounds, and the singing is good. Seriously, I look at my reviews from 2017 and wonder why no one slapped me and said, dude, be more specific. I think the thing that I totally flubbed on and didn't appreciate enough about this tape was just how amazingly Abel captured an atmosphere with these tracks. While listening to the record, you can just close your eyes and perfectly picture the world he's creating. A drugged out house that's not exactly what it seems, but everyone's having too much fun to not want to be there. And as a listener, while it may not be an experience you want to have, you kind of just want to be a fly on the wall and see it for yourself. Even though you know it's not a good idea, you just really want to be there. Going by the individual tracks that I didn't appreciate before, High for This kicks things off eerily but confidently. It's got this almost arena-like feel to it with its heavy drum hits as well as the pounding reverb that kicks in on the chorus. I don't know what compelled me to call it boring back in 2017. This is the kind of track that I picture being so vibrant and high production in a live setting. Abel's vocals are naturally awesome and the chorus is super catchy. What you need is much lighter with mellow pianos and an almost serenading feel to it. Even though Abel's vocals are heavily filtered, they don't take away from the atmosphere and they still sound stunning, making this a very sexy and different take on R&B that still sounds amazing today. The Morning is one of the two most iconic tracks from this tape, and for a while I wasn't as into it, but hearing it now I definitely get it. I like the way that Abel delicately sing raps on his verse. The candid and introspective lyrics are amazing and the chorus is far and away one of his most memorable. I also love how the instrumental is lined with these cool guitar riffs that give it a surprisingly psychedelic feel. I don't know why I wasn't crazy about this before. It's great. Perhaps the most iconic single from this mixtape, and perhaps the trilogy as a whole, has to be Wicked Games. It was his first big platinum single. It was one of the first ones many of his fans really heard. It was essentially his first breakout song. Abel kills it on the vocals as he sings about knowing a sexual interaction won't lead to much, but nevertheless needing the confidence and wanting it anyway. Beyond the catchiness of its multiple hooks, I like how the instrumental feels very rock-twinged. You can see from a song like this just how much Abel was pushing alternative R&B back in the day, and it still sounds amazing now. Loft music sees Abel almost freestyling over a bit of a bouncy up-tempo instrumental that does provide that weirdly comforting sound. It honestly creates the atmosphere of listening to music in a loft. In my original review, I did make a point to ask why the song was 6 minutes because I notably called it one verse, some humming, and an outro. And I guess to a degree, I don't think 2017 Matt was wrong, but now I can see why that works. With a song like this, it's about the vibe and the atmosphere, and I think those hums add to the darkness of it. Sure, he probably could have cut down on it a bit, but I like the song too much now to have as big a problem with the length. And the closer to the original version of the mixtape, The Knowing, is the one I perhaps infamously referred to as my least favorite track in my original review. At the time, I actually considered the song empty and unexciting. Did I know what I was talking about? No. Do I now? Maybe? Regardless, I definitely love the tripped out vibe of it, as Abel gives us a look inside his mind during a sexual encounter. The instrumental twists and weaves a lot of ideas into one, and Abel's vocals are very powerful throughout the song, especially on the chorus. The track definitely rounds out the standard edition of the mixtape very well, though 28 was still a perfect finisher to the trilogy edition of the tape. Overall, as I've made clear several times, I'm very shocked that I only gave this project an okay in my original review. I know it's because my critiques were far less specific and I didn't appreciate music in the way I do now, but as much as I shouldn't apologize for my opinion on music, I feel like some type of apology is in order. Because it'll sound weird to say something like this, but I am sorry that I didn't see this project for what it was back then and that I couldn't appreciate it as I do now. The Weeknd's debut mixtape, beyond its significance, still sounds damn good today. Beyond his amazing vocals, Abel absolutely nails it when it comes to creating atmosphere. The drugged out out hazy vibes all throughout the tape are extremely strong, as it really feels like he welcomes you into a world that you want to witness. Even for as dark as it is, you kind of have to be there. And as I said, it's the type of record where you can close your eyes and perfectly picture the aesthetic, the world, and the story that it's trying to tell. It's an absolutely intoxicating listen that really changed the very fabric of R&B at its time, and even to this day, the ideas and execution are still stellar and great to listen to. I'm glad I gave the tape another shot because it's absolutely deserving of all the praises it's received in the past decade. And once again, I'm sorry I ever thought this thing was just okay. Back in 2011, I don't really know if I would have gotten this mixtape. I didn't really listen to this type of music, so I don't know how I would have felt about it. And while I did like R&B, this was such a radical change that I'm not sure if I would have totally been on board. When I listened to and reviewed it back in 2017, even as a Weeknd fan, I still couldn't get into it. Something about it wasn't clicking with me, and I still don't know what it was. Listening to it now, wow, was I so wrong in my original review. Back then, I gave the mixtape an okay score, but this is the second time, the first being Pusha T's Daytona, where I can say that I don't stand by my original rating on a project. If I had to go back, wipe everything I once thought out of that review, and re-rate the mixtape after re-listening, I'd absolutely give it an excellent. Beyond its overall ambitions and significance, it's honestly just a damn good listen. I don't know why I didn't love this before, but I definitely see why the project has been held in such high esteem over the years. But of course, that's just my opinion on this tape. What did you guys think about it? Did you listen to it back in 2011? Do you still listen to it now? I'm sure the answers will be yes, but did you love it back then? Do you still love it now? Did you hate it back then? Do you still hate it now? Are you just completely indifferent towards it like I was at a point? And do you see this as the Weeknd's magnum opus? Personally, as much as I love it, I do think he has improved since it, but what do you guys think? Whatever your thoughts and experiences are, leave them down in the comments below. Let's keep this civil and have some fun as we like to do. If you guys want to hit like and subscribe, thank you. If not, it's no big deal. I totally understand. And if you guys would like to support my passion for content creation by subscribing to my OnlyFans, where I create exclusive music review and poetry content for $4.99 a month, the link to that is also in the description. Again, it's no big deal if you can't or don't want to. I totally understand, and I appreciate anyone who is able to. And moving right along, the next 10 years later video that I'm going to be doing is going to be on Britney Spears' 2011 album Femme Fatale. I don't really have any experience with that record, and I don't have much of a framework with it either, so I think it'll be an interesting listen. Stay tuned for that, but until next time, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.